This page is the colorful cover of a vintage MegaDrive magazine, dated June 1990. The main title is Beep, Powerful Mega Magazine, MegaDrive. It prominently features a whimsical, stylized illustration with buildings, abstract shapes, and a character walking a tightrope over a cityscape. The cover highlights several key features. The main feature is titled Supermania, Everyone Gather, suggesting a deep dive into passionate fans and their collections. There's also a special project asking game makers questions from users. On the right side, recent Sega news is teased, likely including information about upcoming hardware like the Game Gear. Several game titles are listed, hinting at reviews or features on games like Phantasy Star IV, Thunder Force 2i, Whip Rush, and Cyberball. The cover also mentions a special appendix featuring Mark II/Master System Best Selections and a poster, appealing to fans of Sega's earlier consoles. This page is titled 16-Bit Paradise and previews several exciting upcoming Sega Mega Drive games scheduled for release in July. Featured games include A Pair, Jitsugu OU, described as a business board game experience, Super Monaco GP, which promises thrilling F1 racing on public circuits, the action-packed SWAT, City Under Siege, where you battle an evil organization as an armored police officer, and Cyberball, a futuristic take on American football featuring robots. Each game is shown with a screenshot, highlighting the diverse genres coming to the system. Prices are listed, ranging from 5,500 to 6,000 yen, with Cyberball noted as modem compatible. The page is visually dynamic, with large text and an image of skydivers, emphasizing the high-flying excitement of the 16-bit era. The next page continues showcasing exciting upcoming titles for the Mega Drive, keeping the dynamic skydiver theme. It features 3 anticipated games. First up is Ghostbusters, a thrilling action game directly from the hit movie, expected in June, shown with a side-scrolling gameplay screenshot. Next is Twin Hawk, described as a great battle of the sky and land with formation attacks, a top-down shooter slated for July. Also highlighted for a July release is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, praised for its light dance steps and action. The page also includes details on the Mega Drive console itself, emphasizing its 16-bit power and price, along with Sega's contact information and various game copyrights. This page reinforces the strong lineup of diverse action games arriving soon for the system. This page features striking anime-style artwork depicting a formidable mecha, a determined-looking male soldier, and a profile view of a woman with long blonde hair, set against a backdrop of fiery destruction and dark skies. The prominent title on the right reads, Kuo. The accompanying text provides an introduction to the game's world, describing a futuristic setting in the 2000s where space weaponry has transformed warfare, leading to the birth of mobile weapons called NAP. It details a military operation in the state of Ercilia, led by former Federal Army Second Lieutenant Howard Bowie and his unit, Team Undead. Their mission involves occupying the Bloody Axis and destruction. The narrative touches upon the journey to the operation point, the sense of conspiracy, and Bowie's intense focus on the battlefield during the operation execution and countdown, likening him to a wolf breaking through. This page serves as a compelling preview for what appears to be a mecha or military strategy/action game set in a gritty, futuristic universe. This page provides a closer look at the gameplay features of FZ Senki Axis on the Sega Mega Drive, following the world introduction from the previous page. The main headline proclaims it Quarter View's hot battlefield, immediately establishing the game's unique perspective. 3 screenshots illustrate this distinct isometric or oblique quarter view angle, showcasing battles in diverse environments including urban areas and what appears to be a desert or wasteland. The text highlights several key gameplay elements. It explains the strategic depth in customizing your NAP, New Age power suits, noting that equipping units with weapons enhances firepower and durability but reduces mobility, forcing players to choose between offense and speed. The scrolling speed is dynamic, changing based on unit loadout and terrain effects, adding a layer of realism and challenge. Finally, it touches upon machine coordination, mentioning that NAPs can carry up to 15 units and can be strategically equipped for various combat roles like fire support or mine laying. This page effectively conveys the tactical focus and visual style of FZ Senki Axis. This page focuses on 2 Sega Mega Drive titles from Sigma. The main feature highlights Shiten Mew, a super space-time action game, showcasing dramatic artwork of its monstrous and human protagonists, preparing for battle amidst apocalyptic scenery. The text introduces the premise. Humanity has fallen into corruption, leading the evil god Ashura to unleash demons upon the earth. In response, 4 chosen humans, the Shiten Mew, are granted the power to travel through time, embarking on a grand battle spanning past, present, and future to avert disaster. The game is slated for a July 1990 release, with a price of 6,200 yen, excluding tax. Below the main feature is an advertisement for PSYO Blade, a moving adventure game that is now on sale. It features anime character artwork and several small screenshots demonstrating its action/adventure gameplay with distinct environments. The ad boasts features like full animation, eye-point cursor command selection, rich graphics and sound, scrolling capabilities, and a large-scale story utilizing the cartridge's 5 meters capacity. The page concludes with information about SEGA Corporation, the publisher. This page features the Sega Mega Drive title, Ringside Angel, from ASMIC. The page showcases striking photos of female wrestlers, including a large image of Japanese pro wrestler Cutie Suzuki. It highlights the game's detailed graphics with large character sprites and dynamic special moves, promising a hardcore and realistic professional wrestling simulation exclusive to the Mega Drive. A profile for Cutie Suzuki details her personal information and aspiration to become the JL champion. The page also includes screenshots depicting the game's in-ring gameplay. Ringside Angel is slated for an August release at a price of 6,800 yen, excluding tax, and will be a 4 meg cartridge. This page features the action shooter Atomic Robo Kid for Mega Drive. It highlights the game's maze and shooting action with beautiful graphics. Scheduled for a July release, priced at 6,800 yen. This page dives into Nihon Falcom, highlighting their extensive connections and collaborations with other companies in the industry. It features partners like Sega, Sorcerian on Mega Drive, Hudson Soft, YSIN2 on PC Engine, Epoch, Dragon Slayer on Game Boy, Sierra, Sorcerian on IBM PC, Broderbund, Legacy of the Wizard for NES known as Dragon Slayer in Japan, and Mediagenic, Tombs and Treasure for NES known as Azteca 2. The page emphasizes that these interactions contribute to Falcom's growth. It also includes a recruitment call for various staff positions, from software development and graphics to music, production, and shop operations. Finally, there's a detailed feature on the Falcom shop, described as their latest information hub, showing its location near Junior Yoyogi Station, and photos of the shop's interior, filled with various games, creeds, books, and merchandise, highlighting the range of products beyond just game software. This page announces the Sega Mega Drive release of Hellfire, the intense horizontal shooter from developer Toaplan and publisher Messiah. The page features the game's striking logo engulfed in flames, and the Japanese tagline, "Preemptive Attack begins." This page features 2 distinct SoftBank MOOC publications. The top section is dedicated to Game Boy Life Volume 2, a magazine focused entirely on Nintendo's handheld. It highlights the results of the first Game Boy Grand Prize, where readers voted on the best games released within the first year of the system's life. The magazine delves into user perspectives on the platform's future, insights from developers, and a preview of highly anticipated upcoming software. Titles mentioned include popular games like Double Dragon, the puzzle platformer Pitman, and the unique action RPG Cosmo Tank, previewing a total of 55 upcoming releases. A small pixel art screenshot from an early Game Boy title is also featured. The lower section introduces Falcom Magazine, a deep dive into the catalog of legendary Japanese RPG developer, Falcom. It provides an extensive look at their popular Sorcerian series, covering its history across various PC iterations and ports to console systems, specifically mentioning the Mega Drive version. The magazine includes a user-voted ranking of the top Falcom games, characters, and soundtracks, alongside a comprehensive discography and guide to related books and comics. This section is accompanied by evocative fantasy artwork, typical of Falcom's RPGs. The page concludes with a brief advertisement for subscribing to BeepMD magazine. This page presents the contents page for BeepMD magazine from June 1990. At the top, alongside the title and date, are 2 intriguing images. One shows a person, likely a staff member, among shelves of records or magazines, holding what appears to be an album cover. The other is a dramatic screenshot from the Sega Mega Drive version of Ghouls and Ghosts, known as Daimakaimura in Japan, featuring a large monster battling a player character. The core of the page lists the magazine's features and reviews. Page 14 kicks off the new title scramble, highlighting recent releases including SWAT, City Under Siege, Crackdown, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, Super Monaco GP, plus titles like Axis, In Sector X, Shiten Mew, and Batman, the video game. Following this, page 20 offers a Beep Mega Hot menu, reviewing DJ Boy, and potentially other games like Daikaiton. Further deep dives into new releases are presented as a multi-part, new title thorough master section, starting on page 25 with Furios, page 30 covering Phantasy Star IV, Generations of Doom, page 78 focusing on Thunder Force 2Y, page 84 reviewing Whiplash, and page 91 looking at Sayo Blade. Finally, page 73 features a special report titled Super Maniacs Assemble, dedicated to showcasing impressive game collections from dedicated fans. This issue's table of contents previews exciting content with screenshots from Musha Aleste, a mech-based shooter, and Thunder Force. The main features begin on page 41 with a report on the game industry, followed by a Sega special report on page 54. Another special feature, oh I want to know about that, is on page 52. Regular columns cover Mega Drive news, market trends, RPGs, and video game culture. Readers can also find technical insights, game data, software schedules, cheat codes, and reader contributions. The issue offers a mix of news, reviews, special reports, and fan interaction. This page delves into the Sega Game Gear, the portable color machine introduced in the previous issue. It provides a detailed report, catching us up on its current status and offering comprehensive specifications. You get the full technical rundown here, covering everything from the CPU and memory to the display type, resolution, sound capabilities, power source options, and even communication methods for multiplayer. The page also lists the pricing for the Game Gear unit itself and its various peripherals, like the tuner pack, adapters, and the Versus cable. Perhaps most interestingly, the page offers a direct comparison of the Game Gear against its contemporaries in the handheld market at the time: the Atari Lynx, the PC Engine GT, known as Turbo Express overseas, and the ever-present Nintendo Game Boy. Using radar charts, it visually stacks them up based on key factors like physical dimensions, width and height, battery life, weight, and screen size. It's a great way to see how Sega's contender measured up against the competition in some crucial areas for a portable system. This page kicks off by detailing the simultaneous launch titles for the Sega Game Gear, the portable powerhouse we saw introduced previously. 3 games hit the shelves right away: the color-matching puzzle classic Columns, the 3D racing simulator Super Monaco GP, and a maze-style puzzle game described as having a Pingo feel, which involves moving blocks. Beyond these initial 3, the article notes that Sega expects to release around 5 more titles by the end of the year, spanning popular genres like action, sports, simulation, adventure, and RPGs. Screenshots show the vibrant columns and a fast-paced battle-type shoot 'em up, hinting at the visual capability of the system. The page then delves into the crucial topic of third-party support for the Game Gear. Sega indicated about 9 companies were on board. The magazine's team investigated, finding that while companies like Namco, Wolf Team, Systemsoft, Kaneko, and Nihon Computer System (NCS) expressed interest or plans, others remained silent. NCs, already having Mega Drive experience, planned one release this year. The article notes the varied responses from potential developers and promises to keep tracking Game Gear developments. Finally, the page briefly covers an unrelated event, an Ultra Q festival celebrating the movie Legend of the Stars, featuring guests like manga artists, actors, and experts on UFOs and monsters who shared intriguing stories with fans. This page kicks off the new release scramble section, highlighting upcoming software including SWAT, Crackdown, Moonwalker, Super Monaco GP, Axis, In Sector X, and Batman. The main focus here is SWAT, described as a sequel to the arcade game. The story involves a special unit formed to battle a massive crime organization. The game introduces the Ice Suit, which dramatically changes gameplay. Players start stages 1 and 2 infiltrating enemy bases with just a handgun. But from stage 3 onwards, they equip the Ice Suit, gaining access to special weapons crucial for confronting later challenges. The opening sequence is praised, compared favorably to RoboCop and Patlabor, and the title screen visual is noted as impressive. Development is reported to be around 60% complete. Screenshots showcase various levels, from a silent city and underground prison to a biolab, depicting battles against diverse foes including a helicopter boss and cyborgs, illustrating the varied environments and challenges the player will face in their fight against crime. This page continues the new release scramble, focusing on upcoming action titles. First up is Crackdown, Sega's arcade port expected around August. The article highlights the completed animation sequences for the game start and clear screens, noting how they effectively build atmosphere. Gameplay is described as a faithful translation of the arcade version, providing an immersive experience. Screenshots show the title logo, overhead views of two-player and single-player missions, the bomb-setting objective, and the clear screen, illustrating the game's tactical action. Next is Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, a Sega action game based on the popular movie, slated for a July release. This side-scrolling brawler features 5 rounds, each with 3 stages, packed with Michael's signature moves. The article praises its realism and appeal to fans of the movie and MTV. Players control Michael, fighting to rescue children kidnapped by the evil Mr. Big. Key gameplay elements include unique actions like the powerful dance attack that takes down multiple enemies, and a hat throw whose distance changes with spin, reflecting Michael's distinct style. Screenshots showcase levels like a club interior and a street scene, featuring Michael's dynamic actions alongside enemies. The game uses Michael Jackson's voice and features his hit songs like Beat It, Thriller, and Bad as background music. This page continues the new release previews, showcasing 2 exciting action titles. First up is Super Monaco GP, a significant version up of the arcade game for the Sega Mega Drive. Due in July with an undecided price, the article praises the stunning Mega Drive graphics and faithful recreation of the arcade experience, highlighting the inclusion of data screens parodying real F1 teams and the detailed face of Japan's first F1 driver. The reviewer feels this title is a must-have for Fly 1 fans. Screenshots display intense racing action, detailed team data screens, and team setup scenes. Next is Axis FZ Senki, Wolf Team's first game for the Mega Drive, set for a July release as a battle action title. Players control a robot weapon called Nap in this original action game. The article highlights 3 key features: a distinct quarter-view perspective, the ability to equip up to 15 different units for customization, like flamethrowers or mines, and a damage system that affects unit durability and mobility. The game offers 7 stages and includes both normal and deathmatch modes, promising intense battles the reviewer is eagerly anticipating. Screenshots demonstrate the quarter-view gameplay, showing the robot Nap engaging enemies in various environments, like a destroyed city and a desert. In Sector X, a horizontal scrolling shooter for the Sega Mega Drive, is a port of the arcade sequel, set for release in July. The game distinguishes itself by casting players as insects battling mechanical insect enemies. While the graphics have been updated with a more comical style, the game retains a striking look. The preview showcases the first 2 rounds. Round 1 begins in a desert, culminating in a boss fight against Blade Despida, a mechanical wasp. Round 2 moves to a forest, ending with a battle against Lancehopper, a grasshopper. The game features power-ups, including 6 normal weapons and switchable special weapons for air and ground attacks. Anticipated bosses include Blade Despida, Lancehopper, the Disaster Mothwing, and the Great Octararm. Overall, In Sector X promises intense gameplay and a unique visual experience. This page features a preview of Shiten Yu, known internationally as Mystic Defender, an upcoming Japanese-style action game from Sigma Shoji. Set for a July release, the game sends players across diverse stages spanning the present, past, and future, culminating in a battle against the formidable Ashura. A key highlight is that all 4 characters, Kotaro, Ayame, Kidenbo, and Senshiro, are playable protagonists, each with unique characteristics determined by parameters like attack power, speed, and life. These parameters are enhanced through power-up items, and interestingly, switching between characters also requires specific items. The game also boasts a cooperative 2-player mode, which was a relatively rare feature on the Mega Drive at the time, promising exciting combination play and increased replayability. Screenshots showcase the characters unleashing their abilities, encountering challenging bosses, and navigating varied environments from dense forests to futuristic landscapes. The preview mentions that the test version didn't include items, leaving some aspects of game balance for the final release, but there's strong anticipation for the finished product. This page previews the Sega Mega Drive game, Batman, published by Sunsoft and planned for a September release. Based on the 1989 film, the game blends action and shooting gameplay. Players control Batman in side-scrolling stages, fighting thugs and jokers, with diverse actions like punching, jumping, grappling, and using the Batarang. The game also features vehicle segments with the Batmobile in a car chase, and the Batwing in aerial combat. The page details the game's stages: fighting through Gotham streets against the Boxer, infiltrating Axis chemical factory where Jack Napier is planning, rescuing Vicky Vale from Joker at the museum against Sword and Sea Priest, a Batmobile chase through the streets battling an armored car and dual swordsman, a Batwing battle over Gotham City against a helicopter boss, and finally navigating the cathedral to confront recurring bosses before the final showdown with Joker in the Bell Tower. The game's view displaying health and items is noted as easy to understand. Screenshots show the Batmobile chase, Batman platforming, and the Batwing level. The article anticipates covering items and weapons in the next issue. This page dives into Toplan's renowned catalog of intense shooting games, highlighting several titles planned for the Sega Mega Drive, presented as a mega hot menu. The main focus is on Dyson Poo, known internationally as Hellfire. Described as a super high difficulty (SHT), super high tension or super hard title from Toplan, it's slated for a July release and is considered a summer highlight. The article also touches upon Toplan's history, referencing their reputation built on challenging shooters like Tatsujin, Truxton, Kukyoku, Tiger, Twin Cobra, Zero Wing, and Hellfire itself, noting their popularity in arcades. A section previews specific Toplan shooters coming to the Mega Drive, showing screenshots, identified as being from the arcade versions, of Hellfire, Zero Wing Mon, released as MUSHA in the US, and Kukyoku Tiger, Twin Cobra. Given their arcade difficulty, the article suggests the Mega Drive ports will likely feature an easy mode. These challenging shooters are noted as being worth checking out for fans. Hellfire, a shooter by Toplan, features intense gameplay across 4 areas, each with a boss. Players pilot a single aircraft and utilize a helper system, summoning 6 defensive and offensive planes with the B button. These helpers greatly increase firepower but are lost if hit. The B button also detonates the helpers as a bomb. Enemies are primarily ground-based. Power-ups, called Patmarks, from orange trucks boost shot power. Extend items provide extra lives. Area 1 begins with a launch scene, progressing through a rural setting with small tanks and the Trotmark dropping trucks, followed by a mid-boss, and then the city and river stages. The key strategy involves early power-up collection and efficient helper use, particularly in the river area, illustrated with screenshots. Hellfire's review focuses on Areas 2 and 3. Area 2, a city setting, features medium tanks and a challenging combined tank boss. The review recommends using the helper system to take out the boss before it merges. Area 3 shifts to a sea environment with battleships and a massive boss battleship. The area is known for quickly depleting helpers. The Mega Drive port of Hellfire is a well-made conversion, faithful to the arcade original. The graphics maintain a good atmosphere, though the sound lacks some weight. The difficulty isn't excessive, and players can use the easy rank, helpers, and continues to overcome challenges. The page concludes with news regarding new third-party developers joining the Mega Drive platform, promising future game releases. This page continues the look at the action game DJ Boy. Following up on the previous month's introduction, it quickly recaps the premise. DJ Boy must rescue his girlfriend Maria, kidnapped by the evil roller team, the Dark Blackies. Players battle waves of enemies with punches and kicks, defeating bosses in each of the total 6 rounds. This section focuses on rounds 2 through 5. Round 2's boss is noted as being relatively easy, especially if you cleared the first round. However, the stage itself is described as challenging due to numerous, powerful enemies and many obstacles that limit movement, recommending a life-preserving approach. Screenshots show minigames like hurdles and a bread-eating contest, typical of the game's unique style, before facing the round boss. Round 3 shifts the pace from forced scrolling stages. Clearing the regular enemies is easier here, but beware of specific tougher foes like the red-berated man. Other enemies, including unicyclists and skateboarders, drop bombs or objects that cause damage if picked up, requiring careful avoidance. Screenshots highlight these enemies and the need to dodge rolling obstacles. Overall, the article provides a helpful guide to navigating these middle rounds. This guide continues with DJ Boy's action game challenges, focusing on rounds 3, 4, and 5. Round 3 features the clown robot boss, fought in pairs that explode into dangerous bouncing heads before turning into coins. Round 4 is a difficult, forced scrolling level on a framework with obstacles and gaps, culminating in a fight against the powerful fake DJ Boy. The recommended strategy involves quick attacks and retreats. Round 5 presents a boss gauntlet, requiring players to reuse prior strategies with limited health recovery. After defeating Tony, the end of Round 5, the game continues, revealing Maria's capture by the Shadow President, and setting up a final boss. This page kicks off a multi-part guide for Namco's vertical shooter, Whip Rush, known as Furios in Japan. This first installment focuses on the early chapters, giving players a head start. The article highlights that the development team listened to fan feedback, confirming that Artemis, a key character in the game's Greek mythology-based story, where you play as Apollo rescuing her from Typhon, will indeed have voice lines. Covers the core gameplay, a vertical shooter, where you blast enemies and power up by collecting items from fallen golden owls. Difficulty settings are mentioned, noting that the novice mode limits play to the first 4 chapters. The page features several screenshots showcasing various levels, including intense aerial battles, icy environments, and boss encounters like Antios, teasing the challenges ahead in Apollo's quest to retrieve the legendary sword, Whip Rush, Furios, needed to defeat Typhon. This page dives into the first stage of Whip Rush, known as Furios in Japan, taking you from Mount Diros to the Temple of Medusa. It explains how the game cleverly uses diagonal scrolling and cloud effects on the Mega Drive/Genesis to replicate the arcade's rotational graphics, creating a sense of soaring flight. The stage concludes with a battle against the boss, Medusa, who unleashes strange beams from her eyes. You'll encounter initial enemies like Ion, a seemingly flying creature, plus the minor Batman and spear-throwing skeleton, with their basic stats and attack patterns detailed. The guide offers essential tips for power-up collection. Grab all the speed and option pickups immediately after starting. Later in the stage, prioritize the homing weapon if you find it, and be mindful that the powerful beam weapon has limited shots. The prominent sword graphic on the left represents the legendary Whip Rush sword itself. This page delves into Chapter 2 of Whip Rush, highlighting the objective: rescuing the captive woman shown chained in the temple. The map illustrates the winding path through the stage, leading towards the temple. You'll encounter new enemies here. The multi-jointed Radon presents a challenge with its high durability, while the armored army units require you to target their weak points to knock them off the platforms. Keep an eye out for the Sylph, small butterfly-like enemies that can be tricky to spot as they blend in with the environment. A critical checkpoint is located just before the Medusa boss confrontation, and if you fall in battle, you'll restart here, with a couple of speed power-ups readily available. This page covers Chapter 2 of Whip Rush, focusing on the journey through the underground cave to the Temple of Griffon. The level begins with the transition from the temple area, even noting the scaling effect present in the arcade version. The caves introduce several new enemies: zombies dropping in predictable rows, gargoyles and poisons that stick to the walls, darting magicians who throw knives, and the agile rock Critania with its thin bullet spray. You'll also encounter familiar enemies like the Birdman and army units. The environment itself is an obstacle, with crumbling walls requiring you to use power shots or the across weapon to clear a path. The boss of this chapter is the fearsome Griffon, a 3-bodied entity that shoots from its hands, revives repeatedly, and is vulnerable at the gem located in its central rear. The stage is noted for its challenging terrain, but critical power-ups like speed, option, and the helpful reflection across are available early and mid-stage, making it essential to grab them to navigate the difficulty. This page continues the journey through Whip Rush, moving into Chapter 3. The walkthrough shows a path from point A to B, navigating through various tunnels and areas. New enemies are introduced, including the Snake, a seemingly cute snake embedded in walls that needs heavy fire, the Monkey Fight, a ground creature that transforms and takes to the air, the Moolah, an earthworm-like creature hard to hit on walls, and the Stroper, a slime creature with limbs emerging from the ground. Before the boss fight, speed and option power-ups appear, but the guide warns you to be more cautious of the Stroper enemies than the items. The section title, Gray Eye Appears, likely refers to the boss encountered here. The next issue will cover Chapter 4. This article explores Phantasy Star 2-1, Generations of Doom, Picking up where a previous issue left off, the game's backstory recounts a 1,000-year war between Labaya and Orakio that plunged the world into a medieval state. The main story begins when Prince Cain finds an amnesiac Marina and falls in love. After their wedding, Marina is kidnapped. Ghislaine sets out to rescue her, joined by Mew, an ancient android. Their quest involves retrieving the Sapphire of the Forest from Lyle to travel to a snowy second world. The article highlights demo scenes, including Marina on the beach and a battle scene between Lahaya and Orakio, praising the game's graphics, animation, and sound. Character profiles of Mew and Lyle are included, hinting at their significant roles in the story. This page provides a digest overview of the first 3 towns you visit in Phantasy Star II, Generations of Doom: Rika, Yarta, and Huey. Each town section offers a brief description of the location and highlights a key event or point of interest. For Rika, Karin's hometown, the focus is on the underground path and the need to acquire the Sapphire of the Forest to proceed to the next area, linking back to the previous discussion about Lyle. Yarta's main event revolves around obtaining passage on a ship, with a peculiar condition requiring a female companion. Huey is highlighted for a crucial comment about pursuing the Laya tribe towards the eastern lake, hinting at meeting someone important there, likely referring to Nia. For each town, lists of available items and equipment from the weapon/armor shops, tool shops, and defense shops are provided, along with their prices. Meseta. The article notes that common tool items are similar across these early towns. The item lists demonstrate the progression of gear available to the player as they advance through the game, culminating in some notably expensive, high-end items appearing in Huey, like the Slider of Grief and Sleeve of Truth. Screenshots accompanying each town description show scenes from the game, illustrating specific locations or events mentioned in the text. The next page continues the Phantasy Star II guide, detailing the challenging transition from the world of snow to the world of desert. It describes arriving at the desolate snow continent, land of extreme cold, after clearing a difficult dungeon, noting the drastic environmental shift compared to the previous areas on Motavia, although the monsters remain the same. The section on Rykros, Raisuru, the snowy fishing town, highlights its isolation and the despair of its residents, trapped by the constant snow. A crucial piece of information is gained from a seemingly confident girl on the second floor of the tool shop. A tower exists in the desert world that is the cause of the endless snow. The page also features a legendary song section, describing an encounter with a girl named May, who sings an ancient song about children of the desert and sea. The Shop Presents area summarizes the available shops in Rykros, Raisuru, covering tools, weapons, and armor. While many items are standard, it notes that the guard boots found in the armor shop are a significant find for this town. Screenshots throughout the page show the snowy world map, an illustration related to the legendary song, and various dungeon scenes with character dialogue offering clues about the story, including events like a flood and the past presence of Horacio's army. The next page continues the Phantasy Star II guide, detailing the entry into the third world, the desert world. It explains that based on information from the residents of Rykros, the desert world exists and contains a device to stop the snow. The guide arrives at a difficult 2-layer scrolling dungeon, noting how hard it is to find the entrance, and urging players to remember the topography shown in the screenshot. However, it also notes that the initial goal is finding Nagai, who was taken by a monster, suggesting stopping the snow might not be the immediate priority. A section highlights the dungeon entrance, found near a conspicuous mark in the town, leading to a waterway. A battle screenshot shows Rolf and Rudo fighting a monster. An illustration depicts the monster fought, humorously noting its design resembles something from a classic Japanese tale. The page also introduces new systems. Fighting Spirit is a state in which characters with 0 horsepower cannot participate in battle, effectively brain dead, and cannot be revived at an inn. Recovery requires visiting the church. The monitor is presented as a useful device that displays a full map of the current area, marking the player's location. Finally, it details shops: a master shop to adjust technic balance, an inn for resting and saving, costing 5 meseta per person, and a fortune teller's shop where an old woman tells fortunes, which is described as a bit scary. The next page continues the Phantasy Star II guide, covering the harsh desert world. It details the abrupt environmental shift from the snowy previous world and the prevalence of strong, vulgar monsters. A screenshot shows the monitor device displaying celestial bodies, indicating it reveals your location on the planet. The guide then introduces the desert town, Hatasaka, whose residents are robots speaking in katakana. Gathering information here reveals the location of the weather control tower needed to stop the snow, and the necessity of finding Siren, who resides in a cave to the west, to operate it. The guide notes the unusual nature of the town's human innkeeper among playing robots. Shops are also detailed, listing items and their prices. The weapon shop features standard gear and the powerful, expensive Laconian needle. The item shop offers healing and status recovery items like Diamate and Antidote. The armor shop provides various protective gear. The church is mentioned as the place to recover characters who have fallen into the fighting spirit state, 0 horsepower, tying back to the previous page's new system explanation. The overall tone reflects the challenge and unique elements encountered in this new desert environment. This page continues the guide for Phantasy Star II, now exploring Siren's Cave, which follows the quest from the desert town of Hatasaka to find Siren and operate the weather control tower. The guide describes the cave as relatively easy compared to other dungeons in the game, yet possessing a strange atmosphere. The main objective is finding Siren, who is revealed to be a robot, much like the inhabitants of Hatasaka, although she expresses a desire for human companions. The guide details the experience of entering the cave, mentioning a choice at the entrance. It also touches upon the battles, noting the appearance of strong, unpleasant monsters that necessitate forming effective combat strategies. Upon finding Siren, she joins the party as the third companion. Information panels highlight Siren as a Type 386 system robot programmed to serve the Arachio family, responsible for operating the weather control tower. While she is an older model with visible mechanical parts, she possesses powerful capabilities. Unlike the robots in Hatasaka, Siren speaks normally, not in katakana. Her stats are presented, giving players an idea of her abilities. Siren herself confirms her identity and loyalty to the Arachio family upon joining. Phantasy Star II introduces a refined technic system with 16 techniques across 4 categories: rest, balance, time, and attack. Each category has consistent TP costs. Success and power rely on character level and balance, a system allowing players to prioritize one technique within each category, boosting its efficacy at the expense of others. Balance adjusts automatically, but can be manually tuned at master shops. The system's design minimizes wasted TP. Rest techniques heal, balance techniques alter stats, time techniques affect speed, and attack techniques deal damage. The importance of balance and power scaling is highlighted. 2 unrevealed technique types exist. Screenshots showcase battles and the balance adjustment menu, with humorous illustrations depicting the effects of various techniques. This page dives into the monster inhabitants of Phantasy Star II-1, Generations of Doom, specifically those found in the desert world introduced in Scenario 1. The game's combat features enemies appearing in 2 rows. Smaller, weaker foes in the front and larger, stronger ones in the back. Monsters power up through 3 stages within their species, indicated by color changes. Interestingly, many enemies possess the ability to use techniques or poison, prompting a question about whether they might be more strategic than the protagonists. The page showcases examples from both the front and back rows. Front row monsters include the weak, poison-spitting Scylla and its powered-up form, Lassic Scylla, alongside the humble Rappy, noted as the weakest enemy but capable of using the Grant technique. Other front-row foes are the snail-like Cham and Larak Cham, and the bird-like Cheapcop and Larara Cheapcop, some of which utilize techniques like Barda. Moving to the back row, we see tougher adversaries such as Molmos, who uses the Foy technique, and the unusual Cave Wolf that also employs Grant. The frog-like Nanofrog and Megafrog spit poison, with the latter being a powered-up version. Rounding out the back row are the imposing Daimul, a strong golem type that uses techniques, and the intimidating, stone-faced Bazour. The informal descriptions give a glimpse into the personality and abilities of these early game challenges. This page delves into quirky game design concepts and reader submissions. The main feature, titled Seriously Thinking About Surprisingly Strange Kitaretsu Games, introduces offbeat game ideas, including a survival game concept submitted by Golden Akutsu. The article explores the humorous and peculiar aspects of these unconventional game proposals. Elsewhere, the Hagaki Daishu section compiles various reader contributions, soliciting interesting events, words, ideas, and questions via postcards. This section also includes a small Dataland summary, presenting statistics derived from the received submissions, highlighting the volume and types of responses. The Kitetsu Sodaishitsu offers a Q&A session. One question asks about the path to becoming an illustrator and seeks advice from the featured writer, who responds to the aspiring artist's query based on their own experience. A side panel provides clear instructions and an example for readers wishing to submit their own questions to the consultation corner. This page kicks off with a headline reporting the sensational discovery of the legendary Tiger's Den from the Tiger Mask manga/anime series at the base of Mt. Fuji. It details a search for the infamous wrestling organization's hideout. Elsewhere, there's a personal account of a challenging train journey to Nagoya, humorously described as an ascetic practice. The page also features an article about the band Sea Monkeys, identified by their distinctive masks, who are actively performing, particularly around Nagoya. It mentions their evolution in sound, moving from one song to several, and notes their increasing profile, even appearing on national television. Other content includes a review of the film The Abyss, a call for overseas reporting contributions from readers, and various short, miscellaneous items offering observations and anecdotes. This page features the New Machine Development Workshop, presenting a concept for an ideal game environment machine called the Realizer, priced at 1 million yen. The article delves into the idea of this advanced machine, which aims to create a fully immersive game experience. The proposed Realizer would use technologies like holophonic sound for 3D audio and a visual system that projects images directly into the user's eyes to create a sense of depth. It's envisioned as a body-worn unit rather than a cockpit, utilizing fiber optics to detect movement. The article suggests that due to the estimated high cost, the machine might initially appear in game centers, before potentially being scaled down for home use, perhaps targeting a lower price point around 100,000 yen for mass production. There's also a section clarifying the concept of VR virtual reality, distinguishing it from the Mitsubishi Galant VR4 car. It explains VR as something akin to artificial intelligence or advanced simulation, referencing examples like the Mattel Power Glove for the NES, which transmits hand movements to the machine. The core idea, which originated from NASA for space development, involves concepts like data gloves and power suits for full-body interaction and immersive displays. The page includes an illustration depicting a person wearing a futuristic suit with robotic elements, including a detailed view of a robotic hand and a VR-style headset with VR labeling. This page features Feature 2. We asked 500 MegaDrive readers, following up on a previous survey titled Game World, What I Don't Understand Here. This section presents 500 questions from MegaDrive readers answered by 11 software development companies. Building on the reader survey, the goal is to take the questions readers have about the game industry and get direct answers from the developers. It explains that questions were gathered, compiled, and sent to 11 MegaDrive software makers. The feature aims to clarify confusing points about the game industry compared to other entertainment fields like music or movies, reflecting user perspectives and areas of misunderstanding. It also notes that the survey included feedback on games from other platforms, selecting readers who own multiple consoles to provide a broader perspective. The page includes a chaotic illustration depicting several cartoonish figures looking confused or distressed, visually representing the theme of the feature. The next page continues the feature, presenting answers from 11 software houses to questions submitted by readers. Titled, Here are the answers from 11 software houses. This page shows the responses from Asmik, Wolf Team, Sunsoft, Sigma Shoji, and Technosoft. Organized in a grid format, these companies provide numbered answers to questions about their development processes, marketing strategies, reasons for choosing certain genres for the Sega Mega Drive, and how they conduct playtesting. Technosoft notably mentions incorporating reader feedback during the development of the classic shooter Thunder Force 2i. Sigma Shoji includes a humorous no-comment illustration as one of their responses. The page aims to offer direct, candid insights into the game development world from the perspective of the developers themselves. This page continues the fascinating developer Q&A, kicking off with a look at common readers' sentiments like uncertainty around release dates, a perceived lack of interesting games, high prices, and an abundance of shooting and action titles on the platform. The questions put to the developers cover various aspects of game creation and business, the reasons behind fluctuating release dates, how marketing data and playtesting influence design and difficulty, factors considered when porting games between systems, the typical team size for a title, and even the philosophy behind including hidden features like Urwaza, hidden tricks, tricks in games. The responses reveal a range of practices across the industry. Some developers rely heavily on playtesting for balancing difficulty, while others mention using market data and surveys. Team sizes for a single game vary significantly, from 45 people focused on specific areas like programming and graphics to around 15. Many developers seem to avoid porting their own titles to competitor hardware, or haven't done so. The rationale for hidden tricks differs. Some see it as user service, ensuring everyone can complete the game, while others aim to provide a personal discovery and satisfaction for the player. And yes, the no-comment fish makes another appearance. This page continues the developer Q&A, delving further into the nuances of creating games for the platform. Developers from companies like Taito, Toaplan, Namco, Micronet, Denpa Shimbunshi, and Masaya, NCS, share their perspectives on various aspects of the process. The discussion touches upon the role of marketing data and playtesting in development, the challenges and approaches to porting arcade titles versus creating originals, how difficulty is determined, and factors influencing release schedules. Responses reveal varied methods, with many companies emphasizing internal playtesting for tuning difficulty and gameplay. Some highlight the influence of arcade experience on their Mega Drive strategy, noting the hardware's strength in handling shooting and action titles. Namco specifically mentions rethinking elements like enemy placement when porting arcade games, adjusting difficulty based on internal tests. Masaya, NCS, points to development troubles causing delays, and their recent entry into the market influencing their data collection approach. And of course, the charming no-comment fish makes another appearance, adding a touch of personality to some responses. This page continues the developer Q&A from the previous page, exploring more facets of game creation. Developers weigh in on the criteria for choosing which arcade games to port to home consoles, emphasizing factors like arcade popularity, the ability to maintain the original game's image, and technical feasibility on the Mega Drive hardware. Some companies note a preference for porting their own original arcade titles. The discussion also covers the typical team size for developing a single game, with responses indicating varying scales but generally small teams, often around 5 to 8 people dedicated to programming, characters, and sound. The perennial question of magazine cheats and secrets is addressed, with developers largely stating they don't provide this information to magazines, believing that discovering these elements is part of the player's enjoyment. Finally, there's a comment lamenting the perceived lack of attention to user feedback in development, alongside some characteristically evasive answers from the developers, including the return of the no-comment fish. This page delves into the Sega Mega Drive market in the latter half of the year, highlighting the intensified competition against the upcoming Super Famicom and the rival PEEE engine. The big news is the Mega Drive's ambitious plan to release 60 titles during this period. This significant increase is seen as a major push. Looking at the genre breakdown of these 60 titles, action and shooting games dominate, making up around 70% of the releases, reinforcing the Mega Drive's reputation in these genres. There's also a notable trend towards more original titles compared to arcade ports. A table on the page lists scheduled releases from various developers, featuring titles like Truxton, Space Invaders, 90, Batman, Thunder Force, 2i, Atomic RoboKid, Hellfire, and Super Monaco GP, among many others. The article also points to strong third-party support from companies like Namco and Taito, with key titles, including ports like Strider and Turbo Outrun, and anticipated original titles, such as A Tentative Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Overall, the reviewer is optimistic about the Mega Drive's increased software output as it faces fierce competition. The next page continues the discussion on the Mega Drive's software lineup, focusing on key third-party developers. It highlights Namco as a major player, expected to release a significant number of titles including the previously mentioned Felios and many original games across various genres. Taito is also putting in a strong effort, with big releases like Ninja Warriors and a new type of Space Invaders game expected soon. Sunsoft is noted for their work in online gaming and titles like Afterburner 2. Technosoft, known for their technical prowess, is also contributing, with Thunder Force 2i confirmed and another original game in the works. The page includes data visualizations that illustrate the composition of the scheduled software releases. These charts break down the total number of upcoming games into arcade ports versus original titles, showing a healthy mix. Further analysis details the genres within these categories, revealing that while ports heavily feature action, shooting, racing, and adventure games, the original titles are diversifying, bringing in significant representation from RPGs and other genres, indicating a maturing library beyond arcade translations. This broader genre mix, particularly in original titles, suggests developers are exploring the Mega Drive's capabilities more fully, which is encouraging for fans. This page features a column by Ikeda Kizoku titled Emperor of Mania, where he discusses his favorite baseball manga, Astro Kyudan. He describes the manga as an over-the-top, superhuman baseball story that ran in Weekly Shonen Jump. He points out the manga's eccentric nature, noting that only 3 games were covered in the entire 20 volumes. Ikeda Kizoku details the bizarre characters and absurd techniques from the series, such as the Razor Ryu, with his strange bat technique, the incredibly strong Daimon, and the various deadly pitches like the killer L-shaped ball and the triple drop. He highlights the extreme violence and injuries characters sustain, yet often return immediately. The column reflects on the manga's ridiculousness, including players using nunchucks as bats or being killed by pitches, and mentions the strange conclusion where the team travels to Africa. It's clear Astro Kyudan left a strong, albeit humorous, impression on the writer. This page presents the first installment of a column titled, If You Look From Behind the TV Monitor, Game Writer's Wandering Diary, written by Kuji Orihara. He introduces himself as a game writer who started in the field at age 16 and is now 21. Orihara reflects on his past, mentioning childhood hobbies like playing Hanafuda and Little League Baseball, feeling that even seemingly unrelated activities like baseball had a significant impact on him. His entry into gaming began in middle school, with titles such as Donkey Kong and Galaga. He then describes his work process, detailing how he receives sample rooms from the editorial department, writes articles using computers like a PC 286 Li or Dynabook, and captures game screenshots with a video printer. He notes that the typical turnaround time from getting a sample room to finishing an article is about a week. The page includes an illustration featuring strange, fantastical creatures, adding an abstract visual element to the personal column. This page is part of the Sound Club column and features a basic glossary of game music terms. It's introduced by Beethoven Suzuki, who is filling in for the usual writer. The article aims to explain fundamental concepts for those interested in game music but feeling lost. The glossary defines terms essential to understanding how game audio is created and processed. It covers concepts like equalizers for adjusting sound frequencies, various sound sources like FM, frequency modulation, mentioning the OPM chip often found in arcade games, and PCM, pulse code modulation based on digitized real sound, and the PSG, programmable sound generator, used in systems like the Master System. It also explains basic audio properties like frequency and waveform, effects like sampling, reverb, and noise, and the standard interface MIDI, musical instrument digital interface, used to connect instruments and computers. The page includes a fun illustration of a jester character surrounded by musical notes, adding a visual flair to the educational content. Overall, it's a helpful primer for readers wanting to delve into the technical side of game sound. This page features a collection of game music CD reviews, continuing the theme of the magazine's Sound Club section. The first review covers the soundtrack for Vapor Trail, noting its driving drum beats and atmospheric synth, perfect for evoking images of high-speed combat or a late-night drive. The track, Nightmare Ragnarok, is specifically praised for its soulful guitar work. Next is the album for YS2I, Wanderers from YS, described as a JDK special arrangement. The reviewer highlights this release for its special versions, including tracks from the X68000 computer, and recommends it highly for its rhythmic, fantastic sound and battle themes. The review for Marvel Land Game Music calls it cute and rhythmic, capturing the feel of a Namco arcade title, and points out the Parade of Marvel arrangement as particularly noteworthy. But a different kind of CD is reviewed next, a sampling CD data library. Bass version. This disc is presented as a useful resource for creating music, containing high-quality percussion samples like congas and bongos, along with performances by D. Crew. It's highlighted as a convenient tool for making custom sounds. The Rodland soundtrack is reviewed as a source of peace, with music described as warm and beautiful, evoking feelings of nature and childhood dreams. It's suggested for listeners seeking relaxation. Finally, the album Sweet Wizardry, based on the Wizardry series, specifically mentioning Knight of Diamonds, is reviewed. This classical arrangement is praised for its majestic sound, faithfully representing the game's image, thanks to Kenji Hatakeyama's work. This page presents a masked, roundtable discussion among industry insiders, diving into various rumors and the current state of the Mega Drive market. They address reader questions, acknowledging the difficulty in confirming information but the necessity of discussing hot topics. The discussion covers the uncertainty surrounding a potential release of Tetris, mentioning legal issues in America as a hurdle, and the prevalence of bootlegs. They also ponder the future of the Mega Drive, especially with the Super Famicom reportedly releasing that year, suggesting the Mega Drive's evolution might resemble the competition between major car companies. Expect to see more shooting games in the latter half of the year, and the focus should be on expanding the user base and releasing strong original titles to differentiate from systems like the PC Engine. A key point of discussion is the absence of peripheral hardware like FDDS and CD-ROMs, with speculation about future releases. The modem is mentioned for a possible June release, though challenges with download games are noted. Attracting third-party developers is highlighted as crucial, contrasting the Mega Drive's slower start with the faster momentum seen elsewhere. They lament the lack of impact, possibly due to insufficient advertising, and the challenge of relying solely on graphics and sound for differentiation. Overall, the discussion paints a picture of the Mega Drive facing challenges but with potential for growth if strategic issues are addressed. The next page takes a hard look at the reality of working in the game industry, asking if it's really the dream job people imagine. It presents sample data, including salary ranges, working hours, and days off, along with the pros and cons for several roles: game magazine editor, major manufacturer developer, gamer, professional or industry connected, freelance game designer, and major manufacturer public relations. The data reveals long hours and often irregular days off are common across roles. Merits like getting early access to games or meeting industry contacts are contrasted with demerits like unstable income, intense work pressure, and the need for more than just a passion for games to succeed. Each section includes a small portrait representing someone in that role. The page concludes with a strong message that the game industry is not a paradise, and merely liking games is not enough to survive. Dedication and skill are essential. A caricature of a man in a suit stands beside the concluding text. This Sega special report details the Mega Drive's progress and future. The first half of the year saw strong sales, with hardware and software shipments doubling. Sega shipped around 1 million units, with roughly 800,000 in consumer hands. Games like Golden Axe were major hits. The report also covers software development, highlighting titles like Vermilion and Phantasy Star IV. Third-party developers are increasing their support, leading to a more consistent release schedule. Screenshots of games like Insector X and Felios are included. Looking ahead, Sega discusses peripherals like the delayed Power Stick and the upcoming Mega Modem, bundled with a SegaNet game. The report projects strong Mega Drive sales, aiming for 2 million units by year-end, despite anticipating competition from the Super Famicom, and expects at least 1.5 million units sold. The overall outlook is positive. This page discusses the Mega Modem and the future of downloadable games, featuring a photo of Mr. Sato, Managing Director and Assistant Head of R&D, and an interview or discussion section. It covers the types of games suitable for download: short, simple action, or RPGs, due to phone bill costs and download times, estimated 35 minutes. Sega plans to release 3 download games at launch, adding 1 more monthly. They plan to place host stations in major cities like Hokkaido, Tokyo, Osaka, and Fukuoka. The discussion then shifts to the Game Gear, confirming its release in Japan around October. Initial shipment goals are set at around 1 million units in the first year. The focus is on the high-quality color LCD screen, despite the challenge of battery life. Future software plans include about 15 titles developed internally and by third parties within the first year. Peripherals like a TV tuner versus cable and car adapter are also planned, highlighting the device's versatility. There's a personal reflection section on the Game Gear, noting the TV functionality is nice, but the software library is crucial. The author expresses some concern that Sega is developing another hardware, Game Gear, at a critical time for the Mega Drive, especially with the mention of a CD-ROM project, Sega CD, development also being primarily handled by Sega. The text under Mr. Sato's photo reinforces the idea that Sega viewed the CD-ROM project as a core Sega initiative. This page continues the conversation, discussing how user feedback drove improvements to the Game Gear, particularly its display. The color LCD is highlighted as a strong point, praised for visibility even in dim light and durability. Building on the previous page's mention of display challenges, the size of Game Gear software is compared to Game Boy cartridges. Multiplayer is explored, noting support for up to 8 players linked together, a feature potentially superior to the Atari Lynx. The need for multiplayer experiences is seen as a market opportunity, along with a planned car adapter accessory, expanding the device's portability options first mentioned previously. A notable mention is the upcoming release of Michael Jackson's Moonwalker game for the Mega Drive, scheduled for June, accompanied by a photo of Michael Jackson himself playing a game. The discussion then covers the Game Gear's marketing approach towards different age groups and Sega's plans for overseas expansion, specifically mentioning the Genesis market in America and territories across Asia like Taiwan and Korea. Finally, the page presents data on when BeepMD readers purchased their Mega Drive consoles, summarized by the text below the table, which indicates that Mega Drive sales significantly increased in months when popular software titles were released. The page also features a clear image of the actual Game Gear hardware running Super Monaco GP. This page announces the upcoming release of the Mega Drive CD add-on, planned for next spring. An interview features HE Business Division personnel discussing the reasons for moving towards CRDROM technology, highlighting the advantages in terms of capacity compared to earlier FDD floppy disk drive plans, while also acknowledging challenges like access speed and how they plan to address these. The discussion touches on future software development, emphasizing the need to explore new genres beyond the current popular trends like RPGs and simulations to expand the gaming landscape. The page also includes results from a reader survey, listing the most and least popular Mega Drive games among BeepMD readers. This survey covers titles such as The Revenge of Shinobi, Golden Axe, Phantasy Star II, interestingly appearing in both best and worst lists, Ghouls and Ghosts, and Herzog Zwei, reflecting reader opinions on the available software at the time. A small illustration depicts a character hitting a baseball from a device labeled 16, symbolizing the exciting new developments like the CRDROM add-on, bringing a magic pitch to the Mega Drive. This page focuses on Japanese theater groups, presented as part of a video theater exploration series. It discusses a theater boom from several years prior, comparing it to the current popularity of bands sparked by TV shows. The magazine suggests a new theater boom might be on the horizon, viewing amateur theater groups and bands as strange folks, outside the mainstream, that the world might be craving. The page introduces 3 specific theater groups featured in the video series. Now, Uo Kikai Zen Jido Theater is highlighted for its creative style and a notable performance from '83. Gekidan Shinkansen is introduced with a dynamic image and a description of their mythical story performance, Suzuno, known for their clarity and thorough service, incorporating heavy metal sound for a live feel. Finally, Gekidan Kenku, led by vocalist Kara, is described for their absurd and meaningless style, exploring experimental theater and producing various media like crids and parody books, creating a unique brand of humor. These groups were chosen for their distinct styles featured in the video series. This page continues the discussion about the Video Theater Exploration series, featuring 3 distinct Japanese theater groups. The dialogue between Ease and Ease offers insights into each group's unique style based on the video releases. The conversation covers Uo Kikai, highlighting the peculiar charm of the main character, an elementary school student, and the show's blend of dreamlike fantasy and reality. Next, they delve into Gekidan Shinkansen's performance, Suzuno, the story of the god Suzuno's sword, noting its heavy metal-influenced BGM, costumes reminiscent of Square Enix games or the band Sekima 2, and dynamic stage action using roller skates. They compare the narrative style to an RPG story, acknowledging its specific audience appeal while praising the production effort. Finally, Gekidan Kenku's Special Experiment Volume 2 Petite Great Mutation is discussed, described as an absurd piece pursuing meaninglessness, with a clear Monty Python influence. The dialogue suggests watching these videos can provide a unique perspective on theater. The images accompanying the text show scenes from the performances discussed. This page presents a selection of new releases available on video and Laserdisc. It covers a diverse range of films across various genres, including action, comedy, drama, thrillers, and even horror. Each entry features the movie title, release details, and a concise summary of the plot or key actors involved. Notable titles highlighted include Eddie Murphy's stand-up film Raw, the action comedy The Great Outdoors starring John Candy, the crime thriller Black Rain featuring Michael Douglas and Ken Takakura, and the suspense film Target with Gene Hackman. There are also entries for genre films, like the zombie movie Flesh Eater and the werewolf feature Berserker, The Nordic Curse. The page layout provides a quick overview of each film, with a small accompanying image, often a movie poster. Overall, it serves as a guide to recent home video releases for readers. This page continues our look at the latest home video and laserdisc releases. You'll find a diverse selection catering to all tastes, including action flicks like The Incredible Hulk Returns, which even features Thor, and the popular The Karate Kid Part 2 with Daniel and Miyagi. Comedy fans can enjoy classics such as Monty Python's Flying Circus and the hilarious British series Fawlty Towers, shown with a screenshot of the cast. There's also a collection of Chevy Chase's best work and Japanese variety content like Katochen Kenchan, Gokigen TV. Anime and manga are well represented with releases for City Hunter, Captain Tsubasa, and Mobile Suit SD Gundam. For sports enthusiasts, there's coverage of Hulk Hogan's special SummerSlam '89 and a unique video featuring in-car footage from racing in Driver's Eyes. The page also highlights dramas like Death of a Tea Master and the sci-fi classic The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, offering a comprehensive look at the home video market at the time. This page features a reader mail or opinion column titled Game Free Talk, where readers share their thoughts on games. The top of the page is decorated with charming illustrations of snails, flowers, frogs, and a slightly grumpy-looking creature from the Black Lagoon-esque character. Readers weigh in on several titles. One raves about Afterburner 2, praising its incredible speed and the exhilaration of locking onto enemy aircraft and shooting them down. They also highlight the excellent sound and controls, calling it a near-perfect game despite slightly plain graphics. Another comment on Afterburner 2 from a different reader focuses on the smooth rolling control. Super Real Basketball is reviewed, with the opinion that it's only for hardcore basketball fans. Criticisms include slow movement, lack of synthesis, perhaps referring to team play or strategy, and difficulty changing the direction of the cursor. A counterpoint is made that players who have played real basketball might find it too different from the actual sport. Finally, there's a note about purchasing the mahjong game Martian Cop Ryu, despite negative reviews, suggesting it might be better than expected. The drawing of Batman at the bottom right, accompanied by a reviewer's handle and age, indicates that the Batman game on the system is also discussed or reviewed, likely positively given the prominent illustration, though the specific text for that review is not fully visible. This page continues the reader mail feature, titled, I Want to Speak to the Industry. It's visually interesting, with illustrations featuring characters from SWAT, Cyber Police, the boxing arcade game Final Blow, which saw a Genesis Mega Drive release as SWAT, Cyber Police and later James Bond 007, The Duel in some regions, though Final Blow itself wasn't directly ported, and the RPG Vermilion. There are also fun drawings of characters that look like they belong to Taito's roster, such as those from the New Zealand story and perhaps Bubble Bobble or Darius. Readers weigh in on various topics. One adds further comments on the mahjong game Martian Cop Ryu, discussing its difficulty. Another reader expresses disappointment in Sunsoft's choices for modem-compatible games, wishing for online fighting games like Violence Fight, or puzzle games like Blockseed, instead of mahjong and baseball titles. There's a specific request for Namco to port Megami Tensei 2 to the Mega Drive, with praise for its deep story and systems. Several readers address Taito, expressing excitement about their entry into the Mega Drive market, but hoping for more popular arcade ports like the New Zealand story, Ninja Warriors, Darius, Darius 2, and Bubble Bobble. Another commenter looks forward to Taito's second Mega Drive release, hoping for a strong character game. Finally, a reader asks Sega to release original game soundtracks on CD or cassette, specifically mentioning Phantasy Star II and Vermilion. This page continues the reader mail section, where fans share their thoughts on the Mega Drive and the gaming industry. Visually, it features striking illustrations including a fantasy character, a dynamic Robocop-like design, and a charming drawing related to the New Zealand story, all credited to readers. There's also a brief, humorous comic strip. Readers weigh in on various topics. One fan expresses excitement about Taito's commitment to the Mega Drive, visible in their plans. There's a strong desire for European PC hits, like the 3D action RPG Draken, to be ported. Capcom is urged to bring more of their arcade hits, particularly games from their CPS system like Final Fight, to the console. Comments touch on existing titles like Thunder Force 2 and Afterburner, with a reader noting Sorcerian as interesting, though not a Mega Drive game. There are also observations on the atmosphere of arcades and specific humorous points about magazine content, showing readers engage deeply with the publication. The page highlights the diverse interests and hopes of the Mega Drive fanbase. This page starts with corrections from the May issue, addressing errors regarding age, 30 should be 48, a game title, correcting to Fire Emblem, and a schedule entry for Super Fantasy Zone, listing its correct price. It then announces winners for present giveaways from the April issue, including titles like Afterburner 2, Final Blow, Air Diver, and various CD music collections. There's a separate list of winners for a quiz related to Darwin 4081. The page also features reader-submitted illustrations, including a fantasy character named Phalis, and characters from the New Zealand story, Tiki and Fifi, along with a drawing related to Taito's The New Zealand Story. The section for reader submissions, Beepsland, invites feedback on Mega Drive software, opinions on the industry, and illustrations, providing details on how to submit contributions via postcard to the magazine's Tokyo address. This page features the second part of a serialized column titled Travel Blisters by Ijima Takeo. This installment is titled Fourth Stay, Karuizawa Invaders from Space, less than Part 2 greater than. The text is a personal narrative recounting the author's experiences during a trip to Karuizawa, which seems to be a less than pleasant one, possibly involving strange or unsettling encounters hinted at by the title and the accompanying illustration. The article delves into his thoughts and feelings during this stay. A prominent, large illustration at the bottom of the page depicts grotesque and unsettling imagery, including a giant, armored insect monster, a human face reacting in distress, and other distorted figures, under the heading, Strange Insect Inn. The illustration reinforces the theme of bizarre or disturbing events, connecting the invaders from space idea to the presence of large insects. While the article is part of a gaming magazine, the text appears to be a personal travel essay, with a surreal or horror-like element, rather than a direct review or discussion of video games. No specific game titles are mentioned in the visible text. This page kicks off with big news for fans of Record of Lodoss War, announcing the highly anticipated anime video series adaptation of the best-selling RPG novel. Having sold over 1.2 million copies, this massive project, backed by a 300 million yen investment, is set to release monthly starting June 30th across 13 volumes. Related merchandise is also highlighted, including cassette books, novels, an RPG replay, music releases, and a Record of Lodoss War 2 game from Hummingbird Software. The page even provides a brief summary of the anime's opening story. Below that, there's exciting news about Phantasy Star IV, Generations of Doom, promoting a W campaign to celebrate its release. This game is noted for its innovative multi-scenario and multi-ending systems, offering a unique experience. The campaign involves answering a question for a chance to win prizes like a trip to Tokyo, Disneyland, an arcade cabinet, or original goods. Also featured is a completely new 4-panel manga book for Dragon Quest, packed with 232 hilarious comics, building on previous successful manga releases. It's described as a gag-filled delight for series fans. Finally, there's a quirky Sega-produced plush toy shaped like a car, called Ouching. It features vibration, engine sounds, and a horn when interacted with, blurring the lines between a toy and a piece of merchandise, maybe even too cool just for kids. This page dives into the BeepMD Dataland, presenting two key charts reflecting the gaming landscape. The top chart focuses on the best-selling Sega Mega Drive software, ranking the top 5 titles based on sales data from cooperating stores. Featured prominently are arcade hits making their mark on home consoles, with Afterburner 2 leading the pack, followed by the hard-hitting boxing game Final Blow, Taito's charming platformer The New Zealand Story, Sega's own ninja classic The Super Shinobi, and the iconic fantasy beat-em-up Golden Axe. Screenshots provide a glimpse of each game, alongside their relative sales trends. Below this, another chart lists the top 5 popular video games, likely reflecting arcade popularity given the titles. This includes the highly addictive puzzle game columns, the motorcycle racer WGP, Namco's realistic driving simulation winning run Suzuka Grand Prix, the ubiquitous puzzle phenomenon Tetris, and Capcom's legendary beat-em-up Final Fight. Again, screenshots and brief descriptions accompany each entry, indicating which games are rapidly rising or falling in popularity, or are simply noteworthy. It's clear arcade ports and popular arcade titles were dominating both sales on the Mega Drive and the overall video game scene at this time. Readers of the Sega Mega Drive were eagerly anticipating new games, as shown by the Most Anticipated New Games Best 10 list, which included titles like Thunder Force 2i and Super Monaco GP. A Mega Drive new software schedule table detailed upcoming releases from May onwards, showcasing a diverse range of genres from various publishers. Finally, a Games We Want ported to Mega Drive Best 10 list revealed strong demand for arcade conversions, with titles like The Legend of Valkyrie, Gradius, Final Fight, and Darius 2 topping the list. These features reflected the console's expanding library and players' desires for classic arcade experiences on the Mega Drive. This page dives into the opinions of 500 Mega Drive users, presenting poll results for the best and worst games on the system. The best game poll is topped by the arcade classic Afterburner 2, followed by the epic RPG Phantasy Star 2, and the iconic action of The Revenge of Shinobi. Golden Axe and Sorcerian also feature highly. On the flip side, the worst game poll sees Osomatsu-kun taking the unfortunate top spot, with Altered Beast and Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle rounding out the top 3. Interestingly, some highly narrated but notoriously difficult games like Phantasy Star 2, Afterburner 2, and Ghouls Inc. Ghosts appear on both the best and worst lists, highlighting the polarizing nature of challenging titles. The page also includes updates directly from various software manufacturers. Sega highlights recent releases like DJ Boy and Whiprush. Sunsoft talks about their modem-compatible Mahjong game and the action-packed Batman. Sigma teases a new two-player co-op action game Shiten Myo O. Micronet introduces their unique graphical action game, Junction. Messiah, NCS, details features in Hellfire and the upcoming puzzle action game Explode Star. Finally, Wolf Team provides an update on Axis FZ Chronicle Axi, emphasizing its distinct quarter-view perspective and promising mecha action. It's a great snapshot of what players thought of the current library and what was on the horizon. This page features the latest installment of the SF fantasy novel serial, Continuing the Dream, written by Raichi Hara. The story centers on a character named Satoru, a genetic programmer who finds himself within a mysterious white shell or empty space. The narrative explores themes of a polluted Earth, the use of life energy harvested from humans and other life forms to sustain this artificial environment or simulation, and the potential sacrifices made by characters like Satoru's parents, Mama and Papa. The text describes the white shell as a biosimulation world, connected by tunnels, implying a complex virtual or engineered reality. Satoru is about to embark on a new journey within this strange world. The page includes a swirling dot illustration, perhaps representing the simulation or the vastness of space/energy discussed in the text. This page features an advertisement for arcade-style control boxes designed for home gaming. The main illustration shows a group of excited gamers gathered around a screen, highlighting the appeal of bringing the arcade experience home. The large heading proclaims that standing in front of this console will make your fingers move naturally. The focus is on the KIC045DX control box, lauded for providing a realistic feel for TV games using a home monitor. It supports various connections, including video/VHF and RGB 21 pin, with different price points depending on the configuration, starting from 28,000 yen. There's also mention of the new KIC04590 model, packed with features like auto-fire, stereo sound support, color adjustment, and a power self-check function. The company, KIC Company Limited, offers these controllers, alongside a wide selection of arcade game boards, both new and used, and parts. They invite enthusiasts to visit their showroom, where experts gather. The page includes contact information, business hours, and a map to their location near Gotanda Station in Tokyo. This page kicks off a feature on passionate game enthusiasts, or maniacs, highlighting the trend of consumer culture being shaped by dedicated fans. The main focus is on Shinhichi Yamada, a self-proclaimed Sega maniac. He shares his gaming journey, starting with the Nintendo Entertainment System, but quickly gravitating towards Sega, feeling a connection to them as the underdog. His extensive collection, visible in the photos, spans multiple systems, including the Sega Master System, Genesis, Mega CD, Nintendo Entertainment System, Famicom Disk System, TurboGrafx 16, MSX2, and X68000. He discusses his love for game music, citing Clu Clu Land on the NES as an early influence, and expresses fondness for music from Konami and Messiah, particularly on the Genesis. He holds a special regard for games developed by Compile.
Yamada is also involved in online communities, engaging in deep discussions with fellow enthusiasts. Despite his passion, he plans to balance gaming with his future family business. The page vividly captures the dedication of a true collector through images of his organized hardware and software library covering an entire wall.
This page continues the Supermania feature, highlighting enthusiasts. This time, the focus is on Hirohiro Kubo, a pinball collector. He shares his journey, beginning with playing pinball as a child, then discovering old machines in America and bringing one back. He details the challenges of finding old machines, negotiations to acquire them, and the difficulties of storage, mentioning warehouse costs. Kubo is passionate about preserving these older machines, feeling it's a shame they are simply scrapped. He believes each machine has individuality and absorbs the history of its owners. He even jokes that his floor is sinking from the weight of his collection. He appreciates the physical skill required to play pinball and trains to improve his scores. He also mentions the popularity of pinball in-game centers, especially one near his workplace where he competes with his manager. The page features photos of Kubo and his impressive collection of vintage pinball machines, including Gottlieb, Williams, and Bally models like Countdown, Superspin, Pyramid, and Sky Kings, showcasing the unique artwork and design of these classic games. The next page continues the Supermania feature, this time focusing on musician Hirohiro Ikeda, a passionate Kamen Rider card collector. He recounts his childhood fandom, watching Kamen Rider and Ultraman from elementary school, keeping detailed checklists of monsters and special moves. Back then, without home video, he would watch at friends' houses, paper and pencil in hand, even turning down invitations to play to catch the broadcasts. His collecting mania centered around Kamen Rider snacks, buying boxes just for the cards inside, often discarding the snacks themselves, a practice later banned at his school. He describes being a card king, trading and aggressively collecting cards, though he frustratingly never acquired card number 1, Spider-Man, which he deeply regrets losing despite previously owning it. He also collected cards for Kikaider and Robocon, and Ultraman photos sold at candy stores. Ikeda traces the very beginning of his collecting impulse back to winning a Buscadal in a drawing when he was very young, seeing it as a foundational experience. He explains that while much of his collection has been lost over time due to moves and shedding items during adolescence, he still keeps things with sentimental value. More recently, he's focused on collecting items related to his own career, compiling videos of his appearances and magazine clippings into albums, now having about 5 volumes dedicated to himself. The page is filled with photos of his collection, including albums overflowing with cards and surrounding him as he sits on the floor. The next page features another fascinating subject in the Supermania series, Miura Jun, the multi-talented illustrator, essayist, and musician, who reveals his unexpected passion for Buddhist statues. He explains that his interest began suddenly in 4th grade, immediately following his obsession with monsters. Upon seeing a photo of the thousand-armed cannon, he was struck by how cool it looked and desperately wanted to see the real thing. This led him to temple visits with his grandfather, a hobby he continued alone, even resorting to secretly taking photos of his favorite details like hands and backs at temples where photography was forbidden. Miura Jun created elaborate scrapbooks documenting his research, including newspaper clippings and his own drawings. He finds a strong resemblance between Buddhist statues and monsters, appreciating the coolness in their forms. He avidly collected books on the subject, saved his pocket money for expensive volumes, and even received a Buddhist statue photo book as a Christmas gift. He recounts correcting information he found in a published book, leading to a correspondence with the publisher. His extensive collection of books is mostly housed at his parents' home, alongside his meticulously crafted scrapbooks and temple stamp books, which he still gets filled by monks.
This page continues the Supermania series, featuring illustrator, essayist, and musician Miura Jun again, this time focusing on his passions outside of Buddhist statues. The large title declares, "Abandoning the happiness of ordinary people
including Sake and Women. The page showcases his extensive collections of Rolling Stones records and plastic models. Miura recounts starting his Rolling Stones collection in 1967 as a child, now owning over 1,200 LPS, including scarce bootlegs and original pressings, which he considers the core of collecting. He also details his more recent obsession with plastic models, particularly vintage Frog and Airfix kits of World War II aircraft, emphasizing that he builds them, not just collects the boxes. He describes the collector's mindset as competitive and consuming, stating his intense dedication leaves no room for typical social life or relationships. There are no mentions of Mega Drive games or characters on this page. Thunder Force 2i, built for the Mega Drive, is a highly anticipated shoot-'em-up released on June 8 for 6,800 yen. This entry, unlike its predecessor, is a game designed specifically for the system. Players will navigate challenging levels with familiar controls for speed, shooting, and weapon switching, emphasizing the importance of speed adjustments for survival, especially in vertically scrolling stages like the underwater level on planet Gorgon. The game follows the Galactic Federation's fight against the Orn Empire, whose defenses the Federation attempts to overcome with the Stymex fighter, piloted by Dakin Zeon and Sherry Loud. The game features stunning graphics, multi-layered scrolling, and diverse enemies. A stage select screen provides boss information and weak points, further enhancing the gameplay experience. This page dives deeper into the arsenal available in Thunder Force 2, detailing various weapon types and power-up mechanics. You'll see screenshots showcasing different weapons in action, along with their names, and a destruction power rating. The standard twin shot and backfire return, rated at power 4. There's also the forward firing fire, power 12. The wall penetrating wave, power 4. The powerful piercing laser sever, power 16. The tracking hunter missiles, power 2. The defensive, offensive claw, power, and the temporary invincibility shield. The page explains that power-up items, totaling 7 types, excluding the standard twin shot and backfire, but including shield and claw, are obtained by destroying small red enemy planes. The section titled Freedom of Weapon Selection highlights that as you collect more items, your options expand, though the maximum selectable shot types, excluding standards, are 5, as Lancer and Sever are upgrades of standard weapons. Weapon selection is simple, but a crucial point is mentioned. Losing a life means losing your currently equipped item. Standard weapons are unaffected. The reviewer advises caution in areas where a specific item is particularly useful, as losing it unexpectedly can be detrimental. Essentially, try not to get hit. This page details Stage 1 of Thunder Force 3, the lush green planet Hydora. While it's described as having fewer obstacles than other Orn Empire planets, the enemy forces stationed here are quite strong. However, the ship handles well, and the enemy attack patterns, including the mid-boss and boss, become predictable with practice. A key feature highlighted is the non-linear stage selection at the start. You can choose any of the initial 5 planets, Hydora, Gorgon, Saturn, Hades, or Ellis, to begin your assault. Once you've cleared the first stage, the remaining 4 stages must be tackled in a fixed order. The guide shows illustrations of these planets, as well as later areas like the giant battleship Cerberus, the Orn Empire stronghold interior, and the Orn Emperor himself. Strategy tips for Hydora include being wary of surprise attacks, specifically from an enemy known as Downer, which ambushes you from behind at high speed. The game indicates effective hits by the color of the explosion. Red explosions mean you hit the enemy, while blue explosions mean your shots were ineffective against obstacles or heavily armored parts. Mid-boss, a medium-sized battleship called Mutan, is discussed. Its main attacks are a wide-range beam from its head and slow but agile homing missiles. While the head is its weak point, getting too close to attack it makes you vulnerable to the homing missiles. Screenshots show gameplay during Stage 1 and the Mutan mid-boss battle. This page continues the guide for Thunder Force 2i, delving deeper into the challenges and the boss of the initial Hydora stage. One tricky area is highlighted as the Hedgehog position in Area C, which features an intense barrage of anti-air missiles. The key to surviving this section is speed, specifically pushing through the center of the screen while being careful to avoid vertical movement. The guide also points out the effectiveness of the fire weapon against the fixed anti-air turrets scattered throughout the stage, reinforcing the weapon recommendations from the previous page. Finally, the page introduces the stage boss, the Hydora Commander-in-Chief, Gargoyle. Described as a heavily modified giant lizard, Gargoyle attacks with 3 weapon types: fireballs, sweeping fire breath, and rapid Vulcan cannons from his hands. His weak point is his stomach. Strategies are provided for dealing with each attack: dodging the wide-range fireballs, finding a safe zone, like the top left corner, for the fire breath, and being cautious of combination attacks, especially from the faster, close-range Vulcans. The guide advises against engaging in close combat with this formidable foe. Stage 2 of Thunder Force 2, Planet Gorgon, presents a fiery challenge. Players must navigate a lava-filled environment, dodging fire pillars and rock bursts, while simultaneously battling enemies. The guide emphasizes environmental awareness and item collection. A mid-boss, Dakufu, is vulnerable from the rear, allowing for quick attacks with backfire or lancer weapons. During a high-speed scroll, a starting invincibility shield is crucial. Utilize the wave weapon while keeping low. Beware of a potential trap near a 1-up. The main boss, Twin Vulcan, is a pair of nearly invincible robotic weapons. Exploit their weakness, the retractable radar antenna, with vertical attack weapons like fire or hunter missiles for effective damage. This page provides a comprehensive look at the forces of the Orni Empire in Thunder Force 2 MD, detailing various enemy types and their characteristics. You'll see screenshots and descriptions for numerous foes, from basic fighters like Lupus and Macam, to specialized units such as the laser turret, the durable downer, also known as Kamikaze In, and the bioweapons Caribbean and Gunflower. There are also floating missile batteries, dangerous laser-firing enemies, swarm missiles, reconnaissance drones, charging unmanned fighters, and even exploding environmental hazards like the Uranus rocks and the Firebirds or Robo from Planet Gorgon. The guide then previews the 3rd stage, Planet Siren. This world is covered in water and named after a legendary witch, hinting at the challenges awaiting players below the surface as the ornate army lies in wait. Finally, a section titled, Beware of Composite Attacks, directly addresses criticism that the previous game was too easy. It emphasizes that while individual enemies are stronger, the real increase in difficulty comes from complex attacks that combine multiple enemies with environmental hazards, making the natural surroundings just as dangerous as the enemy fleet. The difficulty level has risen significantly. This page dives into the shooting game Whiplash, known in Japan as Steel Empire. It's introduced as the 4th part of a complete master guide, focusing on stages 5 and 6 of this power-up vertical and horizontal scrolling shooter. The page also features a humorous side story titled, Mega Drive Panda Crisis Repeated. It includes a dialogue between 2 characters, Yu, presumably Uronu from the previous Thunder Force 2 feature, and Tarabagani King, the crab character. They discuss the Mega Drive Panda being tasked with earning the summer bonuses for the editorial staff by performing in a circus. The dialogue is lighthearted and fourth-wall breaking. Illustrations of the large crab character and the distressed panda are included. Screenshots show demo and launch scenes from Whiplash, including a scene detecting a giant energy signature on a distant planet, and the game's launch sequence, described as funky. This recap reviews the first 4 stages of Whiplash, a scrolling shooter. Stage 1 is a vertical scroll with a challenging Dommel encounter. Stage 2 is a horizontal jungle level featuring underwater sections, emphasizing the importance of destroying gun turrets. Stage 3, a peak stage, introduces complex scrolling directions and a multi-directional boss, requiring weapon selection adjustments. Stage 4 combines an asteroid belt and enemy base interior, where strategic weapon switching, laser for asteroids, missile inside, and power-up management are critical, with recovery from being shot down very challenging. The page also includes a humorous illustration continuing the narrative from the previous page. This page covers Stage 5 of Whiplash, titled The Impregnable Giant Fortress. The page begins with some conversational text, setting the scene for starting this challenging stage. As you progress, you'll face several threats. One is the fear of homing lasers, specifically from an enemy called Eddie, whose tracking laser is difficult to evade unless you move quickly or target its tip to stop its movement. Another annoyance is the Squire enemies that hatch from openings. They're easily defeated but overwhelming if you get surrounded, so clear them out fast. The stage also features an extra-large laser, a powerful blast that is hard to dodge and requires waiting for it to dissipate before you can attack the source.
The page also provides an enemy character list, noting that foes become much stronger and their attack patterns more diverse in the game's later half. It highlights key enemies like the standard gun turret, the rapid-fire gun turret, which requires patience to find attack openings, and Eddy, reinforcing the strategy of hitting its tip. Success in these later stages depends on adapting your tactics to each enemy type.
Stage 5 of the Whiplash Guide details challenges and the boss, Huge Face, also known as Metalhead. Players are warned to carefully obtain power-ups due to intense enemy fire. The stage is made more difficult by homing lasers and squirrel enemies. Metalhead attacks with 5 beam cannons and 2 arms. The guide advises destroying only 1 arm initially to avoid increasing the boss's speed. The weak point is a durable yellow center. Concentrated attacks with power claw or missile are recommended. Enemy descriptions include multi-gun turrets, laser gun turrets, hatches that spawn enemies, and squirrel hatching points on the boss's head. Artwork depicts a creature's laughter and screams. This page moves on to cover Stage 6 of the intense shooter, Biohazard Battle. This stage is described as highly technical and packed with traps, emphasizing that timing is everything. Players are warned to watch your head as large objects drop from the ceiling, requiring careful observation to avoid. There's also a challenge referred to as the trial, passing through rings of fire, which involves navigating through gaps in rings rather than attempting to destroy them. The guide details several key enemies and bosses for this stage. Galuba is a huge character that emerges from the bottom, attacking with sticky bombs from its rear legs, which are its only vulnerable point, HP 80. The main body is indestructible. Chofu is a small, bird-like enemy that sticks to walls and fires scatter shots, HP 2. Bros is an enemy that drops traps when you get close, and is completely indestructible, HP infinity. Lastly, Pipoto is a rotating enemy that shifts size, approaching the player and firing scatter shots when too close, HP 2. Mastering the timing of the traps is highlighted as essential for success. This page delves further into the treacherous Stage 6 of Biohazard Battle. It points out a problematic power-up section, where securing upgrades like the laser is tricky due to surrounding enemies, often resulting in players tackling the later vertical scroll underpowered. The notorious Rings of Fire trial returns, amplified by obstacles and threats like Pipoto, labeled the strongest floating mine. Navigating this requires precise timing and movement. The page names the Stage 6 boss as Crusher Ban Ban Pigaro, questioning if it lives up to its formidable title, while also showing a screenshot of Whiplash, the stage's actual challenging adversary, alongside illustrations of the boss and the level's deadly 10-ton weights. This page moves on to the final challenge, Stage 7 of Biohazard Battle, described with a gero-gero organ sensation. Unlike the previous mechanical environments, this stage plunges you into a world of purely organic monsters, suggesting you're fighting inside the massive body of the final boss. The backdrop is intensely biological, featuring pulsating walls, insect-like creatures, and eyes that wriggle out, creating a nightmare landscape with a strong Cronenberg-esque feel that emphasizes the biological horror. The text implies conventional strategy is out the window. The only approach is a full frontal assault with maximum firepower. The screenshots showcase the entrance through giant jaws, eerie giant eyes, jellyfish-like enemies, and wriggling caterpillar-like foes, all emphasizing the visceral, organic nature of the final stage. Below the game feature, a comic strip titled, After the Fight, the Sun Sets, depicts characters, including the MegaDrive Panda, discussing finishing the game guide, facing deadlines, receiving harsh words and even a whip, and reflecting on the widespread reach and influence of the MegaDrive. This page continues the deep dive into the MegaDrive adventure game Xioblade, presenting the 5th part of the guide, which focuses on the climax of the story. The feature highlights key moments in the narrative, starting with fixing a power outage in the ship's cockpit, moving on to investigating the vessel after the tragic death of a crew member named Mark, uncovering disturbing findings like dead crewmates, strange optical discs, and dangerous experimental equipment. Finally, it details the confrontation with Arthur, revealing him to be an android, and suggests using a shuttle to defeat him in the experiment room. Screenshots show the game's interface, including status displays and dialogue portraits, as well as a close-up of Arthur and a mechanical arm. The guide also praises the game's system, noting improvements over previous versions. It mentions a simplified command structure with only 5 main options, and the addition of a feature to adjust the cursor speed. The flexible multi-window system, allowing actions like moving or saving from anywhere by selecting locations on the screen, is highlighted as particularly convenient. A screenshot displays the basic start menu, including options for new game, continue, and music, while another shows a list of numerous in-game events and songs available in the music test feature, emphasizing the game's audio content. This page continues the guide for the adventure game Xioblade, focusing on crucial next steps in the narrative. Following the events of the previous page, the crew awaits communication from Earth in the cassowary's treatment room, where the truth about Arthur being an android is confirmed. A major obstacle is the revival of the neurocomputer Raccoon, which requires not just a password, but also clearing a challenging shooting game. A surprising shift in gameplay that proves quite difficult due to the large number of enemies. Once Raccoon is online, players must check its messages, as the computer is now conscious and possesses vast amounts of information crucial to progressing. The page also provides a diagram showing the layout of both ships, the Septimius II and the smaller cassowary, illustrating the connection between areas like the treatment room and the computer room. A subsequent mission involves a large-scale search of the Septimius II, revisiting 6 rooms starting from the computer room, to find the ship's log which holds the key to a major mystery. However, this initial search fails, indicating the need to consult Raccoon and Dr. Murasaki for further guidance. Screenshots show the shooting game sequence, the computer room interface, character portraits, and a scene exploring the Septimius II. This page continues the thrilling narrative of Xioblade, revealing unexpected twists following the search for the ship's log. Based on the doctor's advice, the crew investigates the cassowary's storehouse, discovering it serves as a grim resting place for the bodies of the captain, Arthur, and Jean. Inside, they find a wrist-mounted recorder containing the captain's last message. This message exposes a dark secret. The ship was used to build a weapon, and the captain cooperated for money to save his daughter. Crucially, he reveals the government sent 2 androids, not just Arthur, foreshadowing a greater danger. The story escalates dramatically as the doctor appears with a pistol, signaling his treachery. In a stunning turn of events, the supposedly dead Jean awakens, revealed to be the second android. Her programming seems unstable, and she immediately becomes a threat to the player character, Keith, and the others. As the confrontation unfolds, the cassowary is suddenly detached from the Septimius II. Keith and the team rush to the airlock, with Jean in pursuit, only for her to be violently sucked out into the vacuum of space as the 2 ships separate. The magazine highlights this sequence as the game's most enjoyable point, emphasizing the constant stream of surprising developments. The next page reveals the dire situation facing Keith and the crew aboard Septimius II. The antimatter bomb is set to explode in just 1,200 seconds, threatening the entire solar system. The immediate task is to figure out how to dispose of it within this extremely tight 20-minute limit. This critical objective takes the team to the complex engine room, where they must carefully examine pipes and components, with the game providing explanatory messages to guide them. But the danger isn't confined to the ship. Stepping outside into space, the crew is confronted with a shocking sight. Jean, the android who was violently expelled into the vacuum, is alive and awaits them. This sets the stage for the final, desperate battle. The game emphasizes the gravity of the situation. Failure in this final confrontation results in immediate game over and the destruction of Earth. Players must make the correct choices in battle, as there are no retries at this stage. The page highlights the importance of saving the game before reaching this point, as it's the player's last chance to secure Earth's fate against the formidable threat of Jean and the ticking bomb. This page features a look at 2 exciting arcade titles making waves. First up is Konami's Parodius, described as a humorous, slightly over-the-top take on the Gradius 2 formula, feeling like an amusement park version. It's highlighted for being full of humor but also providing a solid challenge. A film strip graphic shows a timeline of past Gradius games leading up to 1990, suggesting the lineage. The article then delves into the playable ships, which are not just different skins, but offer unique attack styles and power-ups, providing variety. The 4 characters mentioned are Vic Viper, Pentaro, Octopus, and Twinbee. Missile types, double shots, lasers, and shields vary for each character. For instance, Octopus gets a 2-way missile, Twinbee has a tailgun, and Vic Viper has the classic laser and shield. Bell items are also mentioned, changing color when shot to offer different power-ups. Next is Sega's Glock, Air Battle. The page briefly touches upon the controls, mentioning a power-up select, with both auto and manual options. Manual mode uses A for power-ups, B for shot, and C for missile, while auto mode combines shot and missile on the B button but doesn't spawn the roulette items. This is presented with screenshots showing the auto power-up and manual power-up interface displays. Overall, the page gives a concise overview of these two distinct arcade experiences. One, a humorous shooter with varied characters and power-ups. The other, a flight combat game with flexible control schemes. This page serves as a strategy guide for specific stages of Parodius Da, focusing on stages 1, 2, and a brief mention of stage 4. It kicks off with stage 1, Island of Pirates, a standard horizontal scrolling level. It advises taking down minor enemies thoroughly to collect power-ups before tackling the mid-boss, a cat, and the big boss, a pirate penguin, suggesting the mid-boss is best dealt with using a super bomb. Stage 2, set in Las Vegas, is noted for its potentially disorienting double scrolling. The guide recommends using either Pentero or Octopus due to their specific weapon types. The key strategy for the mid-boss, a dancing character, involves ignoring her and focusing fire on the Pierrot's hat target using bottom missiles or the two-way shot while dodging minor enemies. It mentions a sexy mid-boss that must be evaded, not fought, timing your movement carefully to pass through their legs. The final boss for this stage is compared to the Firebird from Gradius 2, attacking with feathers. Stage 4, dubbed the Japan Trip, features traditional Japanese themes like cherry blossoms and unique enemies. It warns about moving cherry trees blocking paths and mountains shooting eggplant projectiles. The strategy section is brief, but notes the stage's difficulty and the need to adapt to different enemy attack patterns compared to previous stages. Overall, the page provides targeted advice for navigating key levels and bosses in Parodius Da, emphasizing power-up collection, character choice, and specific boss tactics. The next page serves as another strategy guide for Parodius Da. It dives into Stage 3, which is significantly more challenging than Stage 2. Featuring confusing double vertical scrolling and obstacles made of countless marble chocolates that must be destroyed to progress. Finding the way requires careful observation despite the fast screen movement. Picking up a green bell grants temporary invincibility here. The guide also highlights various boss encounters, including a pirate penguin boss guarded by smaller enemies. Another boss involves annoying homing dentures launched from rows of teeth. The key is to destroy the teeth, especially the right ones, and get behind them. A comical sumo character is also featured, whose signature attack is throwing his loincloth after a stomping Shiko pose. The megaphone power-up is mentioned for its unique ability to damage enemies with strange dialogue, while providing a barrier. Finally, the bell power-up is stressed as highly important, especially for gaining the super bomb and giant forms, which are crucial for success. Glock. Aerial combat offers a realistic dogfighting experience, tasking players with destroying targets within a time limit. The game features air, sea, and ground targets, with subtly adjusted difficulty and goals in each level to provide balanced challenges. As a rare dogfighting title from Sega, the game's responsive controls and immersive cockpit view, reminiscent of Afterburner, are praised. Players can choose from 3 difficulty levels: beginner, medium, and expert. Beginner offers auto lock-on and simplified controls, while medium and expert introduce throttle control and afterburner usage. The lock-on system is critical for missile-based combat, with the speed of target acquisition determining success. The game emphasizes realism with damage displays. Screenshots showcase the jet's blueprint, cockpit view, pilot, level select, and control details. The challenge and intensity increase significantly in expert mode. This page dives into strategy tips for Glock. Aerial combat across its difficulty levels, building on the previous page's introduction. The first section, Beginner, acts as a tutorial, outlining the early areas and target counts. It emphasizes learning basic controls, and notes that while initially gentle, difficulty ramps up from Area 6 with faster enemies and the introduction of rear attacks, requiring practice with both Vulcan and missile combat. Moving to Medium, the focus shifts to mastering the crucial lock-on mechanic. Areas present tougher challenges, including rock formations and ground targets, demanding quicker target acquisition. From Area 5 onwards, the difficulty significantly increases, highlighting the need for speedy and accurate lock-ons as essential for progression. Finally, Expert is described as a true test of skill, where lock-on is life. Players face immediate, intense attacks from all directions. The guide stresses the need to lock onto enemies the moment they appear, and effectively use the throttle to evade missiles. Unlike beginner, expert allows the use of the afterburner for evasive maneuvers. The strategy involves clever positioning, using Vulcan up close and quickly locking on for missile kills, turning it into a true dogfighting challenge focused on precise timing and weapon management. Screenshots illustrate the different stages, lock-on states, and intense combat scenarios. This page presents the second volume of the MegaDrive Masterclass, featuring Okada Mayumi. She references covering Sorcerian Scenario 7, Twin Islanders, previously, and moves on to tackling 2 scenarios this month. Scenario 9, The Cursed Village, and Scenario 10, The Evil God's Rock. The main content is a detailed guide for clearing Scenario 9, which the author claims reveals the method for obtaining the Dragon Slayer, described as Sorcerian's biggest mystery. The walkthrough explains how to acquire different angel statues, specifically starting with the Copper Angel found by searching graves. It then guides players through solving a puzzle involving arranging gold, silver, and copper angel statues on an altar, using cryptic poems found on stone tablets as hints. The crucial step to completing the scenario is described as taking the Copper Angel to a lava flow, melting it to reveal the Ring of the Wise Man, and taking this item back to the village elder. The page includes multiple screenshots illustrating key locations and steps in the process within the game. This page continues the Sorcerian Guide, tackling Scenario 10, The Evil God's Fortress, which is critical for obtaining the elusive Dragon Slayer needed to defeat the boss Zunder. The key challenge lies in a specific room with 4 doors, where simply entering any door leads you back to the center, shown in screenshots 2, 3, and 4. The solution, cleverly hidden on a stone tablet near the entrance, screenshot 1, is the sequence DURL. This isn't a random code, but an acronym for the directions down, up, right, left. By entering the doors in this precise order, players can finally reach a new room, screenshot 5, where the powerful Dragon Slayer awaits, screenshot 6. The author admits this puzzle caused some confusion previously, and expresses relief at revealing the correct method. A small section on the side invites readers to send in questions for the MegaDrive Masterclass feature. This MegaDrive Cheat League volume features cheats for 3 Genesis/MegaDrive games. In Final Blow, access the sound test by using a second controller and pressing start at the select screen. You can also continue after a game over by pressing up and start. After Burner 2 offers stage select by holding A, B, and C on the title screen and pressing start. It also reveals hidden messages and full missile restocks by inputting specific button combinations after stage clear based on the stage number. In Heavy Unit Lanos, gain infinite continues by entering options from the title screen after a game over and repeatedly pressing start to maximize continues to 9. The page encourages cheat submissions, offering prizes for accepted entries, including gift certificates and games. This page focuses on bringing the arcade experience into your home. Titled Chun's Dawn to Yate Mayu Volume 7, which is the final installment, it serves as a special lecture on obtaining and connecting arcade game boards. The main text section is called meaning the real deal. Game Center games can be yours. It discusses the evolution of gaming from handhelds and home consoles like the Famicom and Mega Drive, highlighting that the ultimate aspiration was always the arcade experience. The text explains how the high cost and difficulty of acquiring arcade boards made them feel like an impossible dream, comparing it to buying a Ferrari on a small allowance. However, the rise of the used market has changed this, making arcade boards a viable purchase for general consumers. The page also mentions the existence of dedicated hardware for playing arcade games at home. The image shows an arcade game board, an arcade stick controller labeled KIC Control Box Model 045DX, and a monitor displaying a mahjong game, illustrating the concept of setting up an arcade experience at home. The article suggests that now it's possible to play beloved arcade classics at home without needing coins, offering valuable information on how to achieve this dream. Bringing the arcade home is achievable and surprisingly affordable. The core component, the arcade game board, can be acquired for as low as 5,000 yen, alongside a control box, around 30,000 yen, to interface with your home TV. This puts the cost in line with, or even below, home consoles. Setup is straightforward using standard video connections, and store staff can assist. However,
Board prices fluctuate like stocks. Popular boards from Namco and Konami, such as Valkyrie no Densetsu and Gradius 2, are highly sought after and can exceed 100,000 yen. Enjoy iconic titles like Crazy Climber 2, Return of Ishtar, and the expensive Gradius 2. The dream of playing classic arcade games at home is within reach. This page offers practical advice for getting more out of your prospect home arcade setup. It highlights two key areas: dip switches and RGB output. The first section explains dip switches, found on the game board. These tiny switches allow you to change game settings like difficulty or number of lives, which is why the same game might play differently in different arcades. Owning the board means you can adjust these settings yourself, offering a satisfying experience, like finally conquering a tough mahjong opponent by tweaking the difficulty. The second part focuses on video output. Arcade games use RGB output for sharp visuals. While control boxes allow connection to standard TVs, you lose detail and accurate color reproduction. For the true arcade experience, an RGB monitor is essential, perhaps borrowed from a friend's PC setup. The page also features a shop guide for Kiowa International, a company credited with developing control boxes for home use. They offer a wide selection of hardware and software, provide expert advice, have a showroom, and offer mail order options. Finally, it touches on pricing, noting that puzzle games like Arkanoid can have significant price swings. It cautions that used game boards lack manufacturer warranties, making it important to check expensive purchases in person, although Kiowa International confirms boards are working before selling. This page features the MegaDrive race column, offering a review and commentary section. A small illustration depicting anthropomorphic animals sets the scene. The column begins with an explanation of its rating system, where 4 reviewers provide scores up to 10 steps, average to give a final rating. The reviews are based on final or near-final game versions. The first reviewed game is Telltale Mahjong, released on April 27th by Sun Denshi. This title supports online play, a key feature, and includes modes like Rank Up. The reviewer notes potential lingering bugs from pre-release versions, but acknowledges a robust single-player mode suitable for Mahjong enthusiasts. It scores a 7. Following this are personal anecdotes from 2 columnists. One recounts finally clearing Darius 2 in the arcade, giving it a 5. Another expresses interest in Namco's future plans, particularly hoping for a Star Wars RPG, and scores this thought a 6. The page concludes by highlighting the limited game releases in May, mentioning only 2 titles, DJ Boy and Whiplash. It notes that DJ Boy was reviewed previously, and Whiplash is also a solitary release, suggesting readers revisit older titles if they have funds. Genre abbreviations like action, shooting, and RPG are listed at the bottom. This page features the MegaDrive race review column continuing from the previous page, focusing on 2 upcoming shooting games. On the left, the reviews cover Whiplash from Sega, a horizontal scrolling shooter with a unique power claw mechanic. While noted for being an original Sega title, reviewers found it lacked speed and had somewhat simple enemy patterns, leading to mixed scores, primarily in the 78 range, though one score dipped to 6. Next up is Thunder Force 2i by Technosoft, also a horizontal shooter. This game receives much higher praise, with reviewers highlighting significantly improved graphics and sound compared to its predecessor. Described as a definitive Mega Drive shooter, it's considered difficult but features adjustable difficulty levels to accommodate players. It garnered high scores, mostly 8s and 9s, and is strongly recommended as a must-buy. A large, vibrant illustration dominates the right side, depicting figures conquering a mountain, symbolizing the challenges and rewards of gaming. Below the illustration, a commentary block discusses the appeal of shooting games and the surprising lack of releases in May, noting the Mega Drive's success. It recommends saving money for Thunder Force 2i, set for a June release, but suggests Whiplash is also worth considering if you have the funds. This page features a manga comic strip titled Century's End Pachimono Hero Legend X Gadraman X, highlighting episode 6 where the new captain arrives like a meteor. The strip begins with an introductory panel featuring a band, including a character labeled MegaDrive, setting a comedic tone. The story recounts the previous struggle where Sega was annihilated, leading to Captain Kamada's exile to Izujogasaki for rehabilitation. Characters discuss the incoming new captain, who is arriving from Space Station W3 via voice communication. Upon connection, the new captain is revealed to be arrogant and speaks in an old-fashioned or strange manner,
prompting disbelief and frustration from the crew. As the new captain's communication is cut short, a monster named Gunzabin suddenly appears, coinciding with the apparent arrival of Disketten. The strip blends superhero tropes with humor and parodies, likely referencing Sega's struggles and concepts within the context of the magazine. This page continues the comic strip, introducing the monster Disketten, described as the Beam Monster. Disketten is a scary monster that uses cry drums to remember and counter enemy attacks, and also enjoys playing board games like Scotland Yard. The new captain, introduced on the previous page, finds board games too high class. Suddenly, Megadraman 9X appears with a shogi board, boasting of his invincibility at the game due to practicing alone as a child. However, Disketten proves to be far superior. Its memory capacity is 700 times that of 9X, and its processing speed is faster, leading to 9X's defeat, which is labeled as a dark past. The focus shifts back to the new captain, whose appearance and actions are said to fear even God, as he faces what seems to be a checkmate situation in a game. The comic employs humor and puns, noting that 9X is quite the Kohisha, arrogant or flying chariot piece in shogi, with a note confirming it's a pun. This page features the B Mega Reader Present giveaway, offering readers a chance to win some cool stuff just for participating in a survey. The prizes are a diverse mix, including actual Mega Drive games like the fast-paced action title Whiplash, the unique beat-em-up DJ Boy, the classic tile-matching game Telltale Mahjong, and the sci-fi adventure Blade, with several copies of each available. Beyond the games, you could also win a Dragon Quest 4-panel manga collection, a book titled Californian Blue Baka, a somewhat rare Shadowland phone card from Namco, or sticker sets featuring the quirky Baiken-kun characters and iconic Sega game artwork from titles like Outrun and Space Harrier. To enter, readers needed to fill out a survey postcard and mail it in by the specified deadline. It's a great way to grab some free gaming goodies and related merchandise. This page provides an insightful look into the world of the Sega Mega Drive and Game Gear around 1990. The magazine discusses how the industry is evolving beyond just hardware, with software becoming the key differentiator, especially with the rise of communication features and portable systems. The July issue is announced to be released on June 8th. There's also a question telephone line for readers to call with inquiries about the magazine's content, though game hints aren't provided. The magazine is actively recruiting writers and editors, specifically looking for individuals living near Tokyo with writing ability and an interest in games and hardware. The colorful illustration adds a vibrant, almost whimsical touch to the page. The staff list details the editorial team, covering everyone from the editor-in-chief and editors to layout artists, photographers, and illustrators, showcasing the diverse talent behind the publication. Crucially, this page includes instructions on how to fill out the survey postcard for the reader giveaway advertised on the previous page, asking readers for demographic information, their gaming and reading habits, including which other magazines they read, like Famitsu Tsushin or Shonen Jump, how they discovered the magazine, their history with the publisher's magazines, feedback, and hopes for Beep Mega Drive, what upcoming Mega Drive games they're looking forward to, games they want ported, and their thoughts on the best and worst Mega Drive titles. That's a comprehensive look at the magazine's structure and interaction with its readership. This page announces the highly anticipated release of Thunder Force 2i from Technosoft, hitting stores on June 8th for 6,800 yen. This game builds upon the acclaimed Thunder Force 2MD experience. It's presented as a refined, full-fledged horizontal shooting game, utilizing the Mega Drive's capabilities with features like line scrolling and elaborate stage designs. Players can expect enhanced gameplay with weapon power-ups, larger enemy sprites, and increased ship speed. The audio is also a highlight, featuring clear voice samples and stereo sound effects for heightened immersion. This title was eagerly awaited by shooting game fans. Additionally, the page mentions Technosoft's presence at the 90 Tokyo Toy Show, where attendees could visit booth 6004 and receive a gift by bringing their Herzog Zwei package insert. Members of the Technosoft Gals Club, Kanako, and Kaioru are also featured, noting their voices appear in the game and asking for support. This page showcases an impactful illustration promoting a new super shooting game. The artwork depicts a sleek spaceship facing off against large, fiery, phoenix-like creatures in a vibrant space setting featuring red planets. Dominating the right side is bold vertical text proclaiming, "Super powerful! Super shooting debut!" This is the striking announcement for Thunder Force 2 on the Sega Mega Drive. Following up on the previous title, This entry promised an intense horizontal shooting experience, leveraging the system's capabilities for detailed graphics and fast-paced action, living up to the super shooting moniker. The image captures the game's dynamic cosmic battles against formidable bosses and enemies, emphasizing the scale and energy players would encounter. This page features a double dose of upcoming Mega Drive action and highlights a major RPG release. On the left we see Whip Rush, a power-up-focused horizontal shooter from Sega, promising intense gameplay and dynamic visuals similar to other impressive shooters on the system. It was slated for a May 26th release. Cutting across the center is text announcing, "Amazing Doubles!" fitting for the two distinct action games featured. To the right, we find DJ Boy, a unique roller-skating action game from Knuckle, showcasing its colorful characters and beat-em-up style. DJ Boy was scheduled for release slightly earlier on May 19th. Both titles were priced at 6,000 yen. The lower section is dedicated to the recently released Phantasy Star IV, Generations of Doom. This highly anticipated RPG was already available and boasted a complex multi-scenario and multi-ending structure, a significant feature for the time. Sega promoted its release with two campaigns, one a general prize giveaway, and another challenging players to explore the game's different endings. The page also shows the Mega Drive console itself.